Well, you asked Trajan Langdon to do something, and he's doing stuff. Somebody tell me what the difference is between what he's doing and what Troy Weaver would have done. Somebody. Somebody. Worse, this Tim Hardaway Jr. deal feels to me like a neutral sideways step that just appeases fans' need to get something done that makes you feel better, right? Like this is like because you're hungry and you haven't eaten all day and you ask your mama for something to eat and so she gives you some crackers because she's still cooking. Like, okay, sure, it's something, but it's not exactly what you're needing, but it's something. Tim Hardaway Jr. is barely something. Tim Hardaway Jr., we all know that he can shoot, he can score a little bit, get out in transition, create a little bit during the regular season, but isn't much in the playoffs. And he only has one more year on his deal. And the likelihood of in the prime of his career, he's going to re-sign with a rebuilding team to come off the bench is probably zero to none. And so you're really doing a 1 year rental, and then you get 3 second round draft picks that are probably going to amount to just about nothing because most second round picks don't amount to much, except if you're Quentin Grimes, who is actually amounting to being a starting shooting guard on a playoff team for the New York Knicks before he got hurt, and then Dante DiVincenzo took his spot and he was traded to the Detroit Pistons. And so you pass up on an actual NBA starting shooting guard for a playoff team for Tim Hardaway Jr. on a 1 year rental and 3 second round picks. Somebody tell me, how is this progress? The math just ain't mathing right now. If we're really looking at trying to build a winner for the Detroit Pistons, that's what you do. Now, look, I'm a big fan of the Ron Holland pickup, but I feel like that was like, duh. He had probably the second highest ceiling of any player in the draft behind Alex Sarr. So it's like, duh. You take a guy that averaged 20 points a game in the G League. You can imagine what he would have done in college. And then at 6'7, 6'8, 210 pounds, a really high level athlete who has a great motor, defends, and has already shown a leaps and bounds within his development as a ball handler and shot creator than where he was as a high school senior before joining the G League. You have to say he's probably going to continue to develop because I'm going to be honest, he's giving me shades of Jonathan Kuminga and the similar narrative about him that he couldn't shoot. Remember, that was what they literally were saying about him. And now Jonathan Kuminga looks like he's going to be a perennial all-star, if not a franchise cornerstone player. But who am I to say anything, right? You guys just want something done. And so you're going to complain about Ron Holland, but then somehow you think 190 something pounds, 6'10" Matas Buzelis was supposed to be the answer. The guy who can't shoot that much better than Ron Holland in the first place. So I think, like if I'm honest with y'all, I think some of y'all are really confusing Matas Buzelis with somewhere between Grady Dick from Kansas, who plays for the Raptors now, and Franz Wagner for the Orlando Magic. Right? He is not the shooter and scorer that Grady Dick is, and he is certainly not the physical specimen and Swiss Army knife defender that Franz Wagner is. He's a lesser version of both combined into one. Right? He's not that guy. And some of y'all think that he was supposed to show up and save the day. I'm trying to tell y'all, Ron Holland was the best prospect on the board. Now, if you want to tell me about Donovan Clingan, sure, maybe even Zach Edey, I guess, but some of y'all are crazy to me for having already given up on Jalen Duren, who's barely, 21 years old. I don't know what we're talking about here. What are we really doing? Look, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Troy Weaver would have done nothing. I'm going to be honest. Troy Weaver would have probably kept Quentin Grimes. Troy Weaver would have probably brought in a better developmental coach, something better than what the ownership did to circumvent his authority to bring in a guy who didn't work. But you guys want to blame Troy Weaver, right? Because he didn't do enough. He was supposed to make some more moves. Tell me who was coming. Who was coming last year? Now I get, look, he could have done some other things to move things around. Sure. But you can say that with every single general manager out there. There is not a team out there that at the end of the season, halfway through the season, you're not looking at and saying, like, you couldn't have done a little bit more. But the reality is sometimes things are not there to be done. Sometimes you're not willing to leverage your future to go out and get a guy who really doesn't want to be there, who's going to be a rental, who's not necessarily going to change the outcome of this team and their long-term future. And now y'all end up with Tim Hardaway Jr., who's likely going to be a half-season rental, who's not even, he's going to be similar to Bojan Bogdanovic. And y'all want to get all in a gripe about that. He's going to be a bench role player who's going to be gone probably before December. Definitely before January. So what are we talking about here? Tim Hardaway Jr. is here. And I hope you guys are happy who really wanted something done, because now you don't have a Quentin Grimes who was good enough, physical enough, played enough defense, had enough basketball IQ, shot making, shooting, playmaking, team leadership to be the starting shooting guard for one Tom Thibodeau New York Knicks team. And now he's gone to the Dallas Mavericks, who seem to be doing nothing but winning moves over there. And now y'all got fleeced, and you're taking their sloppy seconds that they didn't really want in the first place. So you did them a favor for 3 second-round draft picks and end up in a worse situation than you were in before you made this move. But congratulations, you guys did something. So I guess you can kind of take my drift from this, what I think about this move. It was a lateral, at best, move. But you still now need to fill in a long-term solution at the backup shooting guard position. Hopefully this new assistant coach that you brought in can help elevate Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey's shooting percentages and efficiency so that they can get to that 36-37%, which I and everyone else kind of foresaw them getting to. And funny enough, they probably should have just kept Dwayne Casey all along. The guy who developed the Toronto Raptors team that eventually won a championship. They probably should have just kept him right there. He was doing a great job with Jaden Ivey, wasn't he? And the year before with Cade Cunningham. He probably would have been the best solution to bring those two worlds together and those two talents together. But you guys wanted something done. And this is where I keep shaking my head at some of y'all fans playing chess when the rest of the NBA is playing chess. Some of y'all playing checkers when the rest of the NBA is playing chess. Y'all know what I mean, because you see it. And you ended up with Tim Hardaway Jr. and no coach. And a brand new, unproven general manager doing the same thing that Troy Weaver would have probably been doing, except probably maybe even a little bit worse. But hey, you're getting something done. Let me know what you think of this move. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, share the video in your group chats. Get at me in the comment section, and I'm going to chop it up with y'all there. Peace.